In part four of the Civil War notes, we look at the Battle of Antietam. And the Battle of Antietam is also known as the Battle of Sharpsburg. Again, remember that when we look at how we name these battles, each side of the war is going to name them differently. So this is located in Maryland. Now, it's important to know that Maryland is in control by the North. So this is actually a Southern movement into Union territory, doesn't happen very often. Now, Lee hoped that a victory in the North would convince Britain to give recognition and support to the Confederacy. So it is the off chance that they start being successful and pushing into the North that maybe Great Britain and maybe even France might try to side with the Confederate Army. Now, General George McClellan learned of Lee's plan and intercepted Lee at Antietam. And the result of this battle is that it's the bloodiest day of combat during the Civil War. 6,000 people are going to die, 17,000 people are going to be wounded. The battle ended up being basically a virtual draw, although it ended up hurting the South the most because they have less troops really to waste at this point. So Lee is going to retreat, but again, George McClellan, Abraham Lincoln's least favorite general, failed to follow and was replaced by General Burnside after this battle. But the Battle of Antietam is really going to be most importantly because it kept Great Britain from joining this war and granting recognition or financial support to the South. But it's also important because it gives Abraham Lincoln an opening. He wanted to do something called the Emancipation Proclamation, and he needed a basically important victory in the East to be able to do this. So, the Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order that's issued by Abraham Lincoln that basically announces that he is going to free the slaves and rebellion states. Now, he gives the South 3 months. He says in September of 1862, hey, Confederates, if you cease your open rebellion at this point, we will allow you to rejoin the Union as a slaveholding state. The Confederate States refused this. And on January 1st of 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation goes into effect. But again, it is proclaiming that slaves and rebelling states, not border states, are free. Now, he is not in control of the rebelling states. So, what slaves does he actually free? He doesn't. He doesn't free any slaves. It meant that the Union was now fighting against slavery. And this is truly the most important part of the Emancipation Proclamation. It changes why we are fighting this war. So it doesn't really free the slaves, but it changes why this war is being fought. It's about slavery now. It's not about bringing these two places back together. It's about the concept of the institution of slavery itself. This also is going to contribute with the idea of Great Britain maybe joining this war. Great Britain is strongly against slavery, and this is really the last time we're going to see foreign intervention maybe be a part of this because the British are not going to offer support for the Confederacy, especially once they turn down this deal that they could have came back to the Union and kept their slave status. About 25% of the South's slave population is going to start to walk away or run away or escape from slavery towards the protection of the Union Army itself. Now, about 200,000 African American soldiers are then going to start to join the Army and Navy of the North. This is about 10% of the Union forces itself. One of the most famous is the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, which is you can watch a movie called Glory. I think it's on Netflix currently that stars Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman that shows the 54th Massachusetts Regiment and their battles and their really fight for equality during this time. Approximately about 37,000 African Americans are going to die during the fighting of this war, and really contribute a ton to the Northern cause at this time. Now, the soldier's life, there's about 3 million soldiers that are going to fight within the Civil War itself. And we kind of want to look at just the average soldier at this time. For the Union soldiers, 25.8 years was the average age for the Union soldier. He was typically white and native born. He's a Protestant. And white Union privates were paid $13 a month, while African American Union privates were paid $7 a month. That is until 1864 when they pass a rule that says pay is going to become equal. Now, in the Confederacy, the average age is really unknown. By the end of this, young boys and old men are going to be drafted into fight. So there is no average age, but they are, again, typically white, native born, Protestant, and typically are going to be farmers in life. A Confederate private with $11 a month, but the problem was they often would go without pay because of this organization of the Confederate government. Now, a soldier spent most of his time in camp, and when they were not training, they passed their time by doing different tasks, writing letters, playing games, including checkers and card games and jacks and dominoes. They made music, they whittled with wood, they smoked, they drank. There's a lot of downtime in a soldier's life. When you're not marching, you're sitting basically in camp waiting for a battle to take place. Union Confederate soldiers mostly ate the same kind of foods hardtack, which is basically a hard biscuit made of flour, water, if available, hopefully some salt. There was salt pork or beef, cornmeal, coffee, but really whatever food could be scavenged from the area, like local fruits and vegetables within the livestock. And here you can see an actual picture of hardtack. It's not the most tasteful thing I've ever had in my life. By the end of this war, though, a financially strapped Confederacy basically starved their soldiers, and many of them are going to start to leave and desert the army by the end of this because they aren't getting paid and they aren't getting fed. So that is part 4 of the Civil War. Thank you for listening.